for the, same with copy control, like whatever, all the configuration that we did for sales order, you'll find the same configuration for both delivery and invoice. Okay, delivery configuration, you don't find that in SD, but you need to go to logistics execution. Okay, that's where all the SD configuration is. Sorry, all the delivery configuration is. So you go to shipping tab here. Okay, so you again see like shipping functions, like basic functions. So whatever basic functions that we saw, incomplete log. Okay, this availability check also I'll give you an overview today. Output control, partners, text control. Okay, again pricing also the same thing, material determination. So you'll have the same again it follows the same condition technique. Everything is exactly identical. Okay, and these will be used in case you want to redetermine pricing, or if you want to redetermine any of the stuff in the delivery. So that's when you actually need to configure this. Okay, the same thing with copy control. So if you go to specify copy control, so the copy control here will be from a sales order document to a delivery document. Okay, you find everything in the logistics execution and the shipping tab. Okay, so here also you'll have the same routines like how we had in a sales order, a requirement routine that checks when that you can have a condition there in which case a sales order should be copied over to a delivery. Okay, then you can have then you'll have data transfer routines which actually have the code, okay, the assignment code from the sales order tables to the delivery tables. Okay, so the delivery tables are LIKP is the delivery header and LIPS is the delivery item level table. Okay, and one other thing is you should remember whenever you create a delivery, you are never entering the delivery type. Okay, from where does the delivery type come from? Generally they might ask you in the interview. Okay, the delivery type comes from your sales order configuration. Okay, generally these copy control tables will have a lot of entries, so that's why it will take some time. Okay, so your target so my target is LF is the standard SAP delivery type. So standard SAP delivery type is LF. Okay, similarly standard SAP invoice type is F2. So your sales document type is CAOR. Okay, so you can see there is an entry here, so that's why you are able to create a delivery out of the ZA or sales document. So if you just double click on it, so these are the different controls at the header level. Okay, you have a requirement, and then you have a data transfer routine. Okay, this data transfer, if you just click on it and go to this routine 1, okay, so if you see, okay, VBAC is your sales document header table. Okay, so you can see that assignment here, which is copying all the data from VBAC tables to LIKB corresponding, like VK org is the sales org. Okay, so it's copying sales org from your sales document into the sales org into your delivery document. Okay, so similarly again you go to the item level. Okay, you go to the item level and you will also see similar controls at an item level. Okay, you have a requirement, and similarly again you have some data transfer. Okay, and again in a delivery also you will have the same item categories. Okay, whatever item categories that we had in the sales order, so you'll have the same item categories in the delivery also, but the concept is the item category that is copied over from a sales order will always have a higher priority. Okay, so the item categories that are defined in a delivery or that are configured in a delivery will not be used. Okay, all the time if the item category that is copied over from the sales order, it will have a higher priority. Okay, so if you just open it, so you go to deliveries, and here you can see the different item categories for the delivery. Okay, so you'll see the same item category, TAN. Okay, and okay, you go to your order type. Okay, so from here the system knows, from here the system knows the delivery type that it has to use for that sales order. Okay, again from here the system knows the billing type that it has to use. Okay, so if you want to create a new delivery type, you need to create the new delivery type from this delivery configuration. You can copy it and create a new delivery type, say ZLF or something, and then you need to assign it in your sales order. Okay, only then the new delivery type will be used. Okay, again the same thing with invoices also. So invoices you configure it from SD billing. Okay, invoices you configure it from SD billing. So if you go to billing documents, you go to define billing types. Okay, invoice is a type of a billing document. Okay, and some common invoices types that you need to know are, okay, and there will be an order related invoice. The standard delivery type for it is F1. Order related invoice is an invoice for, say for example, think of Geek Squad that Best Buy has. Okay, they come to your, they don't have any physical delivery, they come to your house and they offer some services. Okay, so in that case you will not have a delivery. Okay, the invoice that you create in that case is based on your sales order, so that is called as an order related invoice. Okay, similarly the regular delivery that we are doing is the regular invoice that we have been creating is a delivery related invoice. The standard order type is F2. Okay, similarly you will have credit memos and debit memo. So I'll show that to you in a second. So credit memo and debit memo is when credit memo is a billing document that you use when you want to give some credit to your customer. Okay, say the product is defective, or for some reason you undercharged your customer, sorry, for some reason you overcharged your customer. So in that case you have to give a credit memo. So credit memo is a type of a billing document. Okay, similarly debit memo. Debit memo is when you undercharged your customer and you want to send him, you want to get the remaining money from him, so that's when you send a debit memo. Okay, so all those billing documents you'll see here. I think someone might have removed those, but let's see. Okay, so another invoice type that's important is a pro forma invoice. Pro forma invoice. Okay, pro forma invoice is which this is generally used in case of export business. Okay, so for customs, whenever you do an export, customs need, the customs department, they need a copy of the invoice. Okay, by that time you might not have an actual invoice prepared for your customer, because these customs happen once your delivery is done, and at the delivery phase you need the document. Okay, so that's when you can generate a pro forma invoice. So pro forma invoice is just a copy of an invoice without any account postings. Okay, whenever you created these invoices, automatically your GL accounts are updated with the account values. But in case of a pro forma invoice, no accounting postings happen. Okay, so the invoice type for this is F5. Okay, so this is also a question that people ask in the interviews, like what is a pro forma invoice and how is it different from an order related invoice or a delivery related invoice. Okay, so pro forma invoice doesn't have any accounting postings. Okay, so let's try to create a credit memo and let's see how we can handle credit memos. Okay, I'm creating a sales order. I do a delivery and I send an invoice to my customer. Okay, I save the sales order. Okay, then I create a delivery. Okay, I'll create a delivery, do the picking, and then I'll do PGI. Okay, go to picking tab and enter the picking quantity, and I'll do a post goods issue. Okay, so this, you have to remember the significance of a post goods issue. So post goods issue is when the actual stock is directed from your warehouse. So I showed you earlier uh, by checking from MMBE or transaction MMBE or MD52. Okay, MMBE again is to check the stock overview. Okay, even after you create a delivery, the stock will still be the stock will still show in the storage location. Only once you do a PGI, that's when the stock is reduced. Okay, so now I'll create an invoice. Okay, let me save this invoice. So I sold a material to my customer and I sent him an invoice. Okay, then your customer, he is a loyal customer to you, and then he came back and told like whatever material that I got is a defective one, or something is missing. Say in that iPhone the charger is missing. Okay, so you frequently see this in our real life also, where the vendor, they'll give you some credit. Okay, so now this is your invoice number. Okay, and I think I showed this to you, but once you create an invoice, the last step in SD is you have to release it to the accounting. Okay, you can do it from here. So that's when actually the GL accounts, the GL account, the money is posted into FI. Okay, so you can do it from here, or you go to billing document, release to accounting. Okay, so now if you want to see the accounting postings, so just click on this accounting tab. Okay, so this is the accounting document that is created. So you can just double click here and it will take you to the accounting, the FI document that was created for this invoice. Okay, so if you see the sales revenues, okay, the sales revenues are posted to this GL account. The discount, this is posted to a different GL account. So you should know like how these GL accounts were determined. Okay, these GL accounts were determined from the revenue account determination that we did. Okay, in the revenue account determination, we assigned a GL account for each of the account keys. So if you remember in your pricing procedure, you have different account keys like ERL, ERF, ERU. Okay, so based on that account keys, we assign GL accounts in the revenue account determination configuration. Okay, so from that place, the system, it will get the revenue, it will get the GL accounts to which it should post. Okay, so that is the actual link. and this is the last step of SD, releasing it to the accounting. Okay, from then on, customer will FI customer sends payments and they will be processed through FI, and you don't need we don't even interfere in those. Okay, that's completely FI task. Okay, so say for let's assume for this particular invoice, the customer came back and told we missed a charger in that. Okay, so we have to give him some credit. Okay, to give credit, you cannot directly create an invoice. Okay, you cannot directly create a credit memo. Okay, so you have to create a credit memo request, which is a sales document. Okay, credit memo request to issue credit. We have to create a credit memo request which is a sales document. Okay, so you create a credit memo request, and obviously you don't want to enter all that stuff again from the invoice, right? So you can do create with reference. Okay, so create with reference, I enter the billing document number which I want to take as reference. Okay, so that's why I entered the invoice that I just created. Okay, I say copy. Okay, now if you see whatever values that we have in the invoice, they are copied over. Okay, say I want to give $10 credit or $20. Okay, you go to conditions. Okay, so I'll just give $20, and actually in real projects you might have a completely different pricing procedure here. Okay, here for credit memos, because if you remember again, one of the factors on which your pricing procedure is determined is based on your sales order type. Okay, so for the same customer, okay, even if the customer number is the same and customer number is the same, means the customer pricing procedure indicator is the same, the sales area is the same, but for a credit memo request you can have a different pricing procedure based on the document pricing procedure indicator on the in the sales configuration. Okay, so then you can have a different pricing procedure which only handles credits. Okay, instead of having this complete pricing procedure. Okay, so you do it, you save it, and generally in credit memos the order reason is generally kept as mandatory, because again the same thing, like whenever you return something on Amazon, generally they'll ask you for the return reason, right? So I'll say something like damaged in transit. Okay, now you created a credit memo request. Okay, now if you see, I tried to create a credit memo. Again, you have to remember this: a credit memo request is a sales document. Okay, credit memo request is a sales document. Then using the credit memo request as a reference, you create a credit memo which is a billing document. Okay, so if you see, I try to create a billing document and it's giving me a error saying that the document is blocked for billing. Okay, this again is a very common scenario whenever your company does billing, whenever your company does credit memo requests. Okay, because you don't want your order entry person to give credits, right? You want a manager higher up to approve those. Okay, so let's see how you can remove a billing block. Okay, let's go to the sales order that we created. Let's go to the credit memo that we just created. Okay, now if you go to the header and if you go to the billing document, okay, see, you see a billing block is there. Okay, so you unless you remove this billing block, the system will not allow you to create an invoice. Okay, so here I'm able to hey, hope everyone is able to hear me. So if you have any issues, just yes, I think everyone is able to hear me. If any one of you also have any audio issues, let me know. Okay. Okay, so otherwise just try logging out and logging in of the meeting from the meeting again. So hopefully that should work. Okay, so see, because there is a billing block here, the system is not allowing you to create an invoice. Okay, because this is a test system, I am able to remove the billing block. Okay, but in in the real time system, a manager higher up or someone who is responsible for the accounting, only they will have the authorization to remove the billing blocks. Okay, this is generally used, this configuration is used so that your order entry persons will not give and will not give credits. Okay, so now I removed the billing block. Okay, so go to sales document, header, billing tab, and remove the billing block. Okay, so now you remove the billing block, and now let's try to create a credit memo. Again, a credit memo is a billing document. Okay, so you just save it. Now you see a credit memo is created. Okay, then once you release this credit memo, okay, once you release this credit memo to the accounting, so that's where the accounts are updated. Okay, so if you see like $18 is reduced. Okay. So that's how you create a credit memo. If you want, this is also called as complaint processing. Okay, if someone asks you about complaint processing, so this is how you do complaint processing. Again, the same thing. So whatever I did now is a credit memo. Again, if you want to do a debit memo, the same process. You create a sales order delivery invoice, and then you go back and create a debit memo request, which is a sales document, and using that as a reference, then you create a debit memo. Okay, so again, let's again go back to the sales order and look at its configuration, the order type. Okay, basic functions, sales document header. Okay, let's go to the configuration of a credit memo request. Okay, if you see, this is an order related billing type. Okay, G2, so maybe I have the wrong credit memo here. So this is G2. Okay, G2 is the credit memo type. Okay, so if you see here, it's an order related billing type. So that's the reason why you are able to create an invoice directly from sales order. Okay, and again, if you see, a billing block is there. So anytime you create a document of type CR, it will automatically go into a billing block. Okay, that's the reason why we are getting a billing block. So again, you'll have a similar configuration for debit memo also. DR. Okay, the debit memo type is L2. Okay, L2 is the debit memo type. So it will also go on a billing block as soon as you create it. Okay, the same thing you can also do returns also, returns processing. You create a invoice, you create a sales order delivery invoice, and then for returns the return order type is RE. Okay, RE is the return order type, but returns is different from credit memos and debit memos in the sense that a returns will have, you create a returns order and then you create a return delivery. This is the difference between a credit memo request and a returns order, and then you create an invoice or a credit. Okay, so all these are different types of variations in an invoice. Okay, and again, yesterday I showed to you, you can create an invoice either from VF01, which is an individual invoice, or you can do it from VF04, which is a billing due list. Okay, and yesterday I also showed you how to do it in a background, how to run background jobs. Okay, so now that said, now let's go into some advanced billing concept called rebates. Okay, and yesterday we also did intercompany billing. So now let's look at rebates in SD. Okay, the main question that people ask you is, what is the difference between a rebate and a discount? Okay, I'm sure all of us have used rebates in the real life. Okay, so rebate, a discount is an off the invoice off the invoice, and rebate happens after the invoice at a later date. Okay, so discount happens whenever, say, you're getting a 2% discount, okay, or 5% discount. So that discount is calculated whenever an invoice is created. Okay, whenever you're, say, you go to a store and you're buying something and they're giving 10% discount. Okay, so you will get the discount as soon whenever you're paying for it. Okay, but a rebate, think of it as a mail-in rebate. Okay, a rebate happens when you buy it, and then once you apply for it, that's when you are going to get that credit. Okay, so that's a very important difference. So whenever if someone is going to ask you questions in rebate processing in SD, so that's the first question that they'll generally ask. Okay, what is the difference between a discount and a rebate? Okay, I gave you a simple example of rebate, but generally in, how rebates work in SD is, discounts, we directly go and create a condition type K starting with K004, customer discount, material discount, and that will be reflected directly in your sales order. So whenever you create a sales order, that discount is directly reflected. Okay, but a rebate, how it happens is, instant rebate is like a discount, yes. But how a rebate happens is, actually rebates are heavily used in automobile industry. So I know whenever you buy cars, we always look at the invoice price. Okay, we think that we are getting a very good deal buying a car on an invoice price. Okay, but the point that we don't know is the dealers, they will get a very good chunk, like 10 to between 10 to 20% of their annual sales. If they meet a sales goal, say that dealership does like say 10 million business in a year, okay, they will get like 10 to 20% of the rebate. So whenever we buy a car, we just look online and we look at the invoice price and we negotiate based on the invoice price. But the dealerships, they make more on the rebates that they get end of the year than actually what they make when they sell the car. Okay, so again, the rebates are heavily used in medical wholesale distribution industries. Okay, so you can have different types of rebates, say like performance rebates. Okay, you can tell your customer that if you buy more than 100,000 from me or a million over the year, you get a 10% rebate. Okay, so you're telling your customer that, hey, if you buy from me 1 million over the year, then end of the year I'll give you 100,000. Okay, so that motivates and that's kind of an incentive for the customer to buy more. Okay, then you can have same thing, you can have maybe volume based rebates. Okay, if he buys like 100,000 each, you can give him, say you give him okay $50, 50,000 in credit. Okay, then you can have lump sum rebates. Okay, lump sum rebates are generally used in promotional trade shows. Okay, say for example, okay, say Walmart is your customer. Okay, for the products that for some of the products that Walmart primarily advertises in the store, okay, where they give some premium placement on the racks. Okay, so in those cases, the manufacturer has to pay Walmart a price for exhibiting those. Okay, so in that case, it's not based on any of the sales. It's just a promotional rebate. Okay, just for once Walmart or any of your customer, he gives you a proof, then you have to pay him the promotional rebate. So that's a different kind of rebate. Okay, rebates again is a very it's a huge concept. So I'm going to show you how we create rebates in SD, and again, as you can guess, the discounts, these will not be directly taken out of an invoice. Okay, or these will be not directly taken off out of your sales order. Okay, so before the first step in rebates is you have an agreement with the customer. Okay, so because all these are you should have some even before you start the rebate, you should have some agreement with the customer. So like whatever I wrote in words here, so you should have a rebate like this. Okay, you create rebates from logistics, sales and distribution, go to master data, agreements, you go to rebate agreements. Okay, so I'm creating a new rebate. So I'll use the standard SAP delivered rebate type. So you can have a material rebate, can have a customer rebate. So what I want to do is, for the customer AT&T, I want to give him 2% rebate. Okay, on all the things that he buys from me, I want to give him 2% rebate. So the agreement type that I'm using is a customer rebate. Okay, the rebate recipient, who is actually going to get the receipt. Okay, so this guy is going to get the rebate from me. And validity period, what is the validity period? Okay, so you can enter like in whatever period you want the rebates to be valid. Okay, then now you have to create the rebate conditions. Okay, so you can see here the conditions tab, so you go there and now you can create rebate conditions. So what is the customer that you want to give a discount? So for this guy I want to give, say, 10%. Okay, for this guy I want to give 10%. Okay, so I'll come back to this accruals in a minute. What these accruals are also important, so I'll come back to what an accrual is. Okay, so again, if you want to give this rebate across multiple customers, and again, as you can see, this is similar to our VK12 VK13 screen. Okay, but you cannot create rebates from VK12 VK13. You have to do it from this transaction. The transaction is VBO1. Okay, VBO1 is the transaction code. So you have to create these rebate conditions from VBO1 screen. Okay, again, if you want, you can maintain scales also. So if you just double click here, you can maintain scales, say from $1,000 it's 10%. So from 2000, say 12%. Okay, you can maintain different scales like that. Okay, you save it. Okay, so and SAP asks you for a settlement number. So this settlement number is, so the process is that once you create a rebate and once you do sales order, delivery and billing, end of the year when you actually make the payment, SAP needs like whenever you are going to pay it, again the same thing, you are going to create a credit memo, you are going to create a credit memo request and then a credit memo. Okay, to give the credit to your customer, you cannot directly go and give the money, right? So you again have to follow the same process because your accounting has to be updated. So once at end of the year, whenever actually you are paying to your customer, you create a credit memo request and then you create a credit memo. So whenever you're doing that credit memo request, SAP needs a dummy material number. Okay, so you might ask you why does it need it, but that's the way how the rebates was designed. So they like, because whenever you create a credit memo request, you need a material at the line item. Okay, so SAP needs a dummy material number called as material for settlement to actually create the credit memo request. So you can just enter any material that you already created. So I'm using some other material that I created, but generally this will be a dummy material. Okay, now you created a rebate agreement. Okay, now let's try to create a sales order and see if whatever the condition that we maintain is reflected in the sales order. So I'll go to VAO1. Okay, now let's go to pricing and see. Okay, here you won't see anything. Okay, everything it's the same, whatever. You don't observe any difference now, before and after creating the agreement. Okay, so I'll tell you why you don't see a difference. So let's try to save it, create a delivery, and then let's try to create an invoice. Okay, so I'll enter the picked quantity as 100 and I'll do a post goods issue. Okay, so once you do this post goods issue, let's try to create an invoice. Okay, let me save the invoice and I'll come back. Okay, let's go to the pricing conditions. Okay, double click on it. You go to conditions tab. Now if you see the rebate on this, okay, there are two rebates, but I think this is the second one that we created. So if you want to see which how this 10% came, again the same thing, you click on the line item and go to details. Okay, now if you see on the agreement 91, okay, because I maintained 10%, you can see a condition value of 880, but this 880 is not deducted from, this is not a discount. Okay, the total if you see is 8800. Okay, so the total if you see is 9000 is the total, 90 is the price, and for 100 of them it's 90,000 or 9000, and then of it 200 is the discount, and because we maintain some exclusions, it's picking the first one, the best discount. So then 200 is the discount amount and 8800 is the net price. Okay, so the point that I want to make here is whatever rebate that you maintained here, that's not deducted out of the price. Okay, it's just showing up in the pricing procedure. And again, if you see a statistical indicator here, so whenever like I told you earlier, whenever you mark something as statistical, that is used just for reference, it's not actually captured in the pricing. Okay, and it's not posted to the accounting. Okay, the reason why you see this in the invoice is, so there is a concept called accrual. Okay, what the system does is it captures, again accrual is something that is used, it's not an SAP specific term. You use accrual to so that you will have a fair estimate of the amount that you will have to pay end of the year. Okay, say for example I'm paying 10% rebate. Okay, the real money that I'm actually making out of this sale is 8800 minus 880, which is nearer to 8000. Okay, so whenever I'm doing a financial reporting end of the quarter, okay, I should only account for 8000, not 8800. Okay, because the real money that I make, because I actually signed an agreement with my customer that 800, I'm going to give him a rebate of 800 for each sale. Okay, so this number here, it might make might not make much difference, but if you take a big customer, like if you take a real company, okay, say the company is making 10 million in sales, and of it 2 million they'll have to give as a rebate. Okay, so that should be accurately reflected in the financials. So that's the reason why you actually do an accrual, so that you know what is the amount that I owe to this customer. Okay, so in interviews also, people will ask what is an accrual and why do you do an accrual. Okay, so these accruals give you a fair estimate of what is the amount that you owe to your customer. Okay, so the real money that you're making on that sale is the net value minus whatever you accrued on it. Okay, so similarly, let's create one more I'll create same thing, one more sales order. Okay, and then you might have also have a question, why am I not seeing? Okay, we are using the same pricing procedure in the sales order and also in the invoice, right? So you might have a question, why am I not seeing that condition type in the sales order? Okay, the reason for that is you have to go into the pricing procedure and see why you are not getting it. Okay, if you go to the pricing procedure Vivo K0, okay, this is the pricing procedure that I am using. Okay, so this is the rebate I am using, customer rebate. Okay, if you see, it's assigned to a requirement 24. Okay, if you open that requirement, okay, this requirement tells the system that this condition type should only show up in a billing document. Okay, so if you see, this condition is only applied in invoices, like all these are different types of billing documents. Okay, so that's the reason why, due to the requirement that is assigned to that condition type in the pricing procedure, you see that only in an order document, only in an invoice document, not in sales order or in delivery. Okay, so I created delivery out of this. Okay, I do a PJ and I'll create an invoice also. Okay, you go to VF01. So now if you go to the item level details, conditions, so now you will see 10%. Okay, 10% of this. If you want to go to details, okay, you see that this is an accrual. Okay, and this is statistical. Okay, so the agreement using which this rebate was calculated is 91. Okay, now let's go back to the rebate. Okay, VB02, or you can go through the same path. Okay, so now I came back into the rebate. Okay, and if I want to look up all the sales that I had, on this rebate. Okay, so you go to this verification, like the symbol that you see here. So this will give you the details of all the sales that happened and what is the amount that you owe the customer. Okay, this is an approximate amount that you owe the customer. This is the accrued value. Okay, so similarly, if you have whatever, like over the year, you might have a lot of them. Okay, so you'll see all those here. Okay, then end of the year. So whenever you want to close this this is kind of a promotion. Okay, whenever you want to close it, you will pay for it. Okay, I'll not be able to do this now, but you just enter the amount to be paid. Say you want to pay like 2112. Okay, and once you save it, then the system will automatically create a credit memo request. Okay, a sales document called as credit memo request, and then again the same thing that I showed you earlier. Using that credit memo request, as a reference, you create a credit memo and then you save it. Okay, so then your FI people will take care and they'll give a credit to the customer. Okay, so that's how these rebates work. Yeah, so the question is yeah, for rebates, yeah, the question is should display in the invoice for rebates. Yeah, it will display in the invoice, but the discount is not actually taken out of the invoice. Okay, Venkat, I'm not sure about your question. So like if it's a discount, okay, so for example, see, this is a discount. Okay, K005 is a discount which is a I think it's a 2% or $2 per each discount. So the customer is getting it right away. So 9,000 is the total price and the customer is getting this 200 discount. So the amount that he is paying is 8,800. Okay, but whereas he is going to get a rebate of 10%, which is 880, but I am not paying him this rebate at the invoice, in this invoice. Okay, I'll pay him at the end of the year. I can have some conditions saying that only if he does a business of more than 1 million, then I'll pay him this money. Okay, so that way, like one of the main reason why companies use these rebates is they can increase the cash flow. Okay, so because till end of the year or till end of the rebate period, the customer doesn't need to you don't need to pay your customer. Okay, so you're going to have greater cash flow. So that's also one of the reasons why along with the reason that it incentivizes or motivates your customer to buy more, and also it increases your cash flow. So that's the reason why actually companies lean more towards rebates than towards instant discounts. Okay, and the other question is how do you, yeah, on what basis is the rebate or discount calculated? So if you can have a rebate basis. Okay, on what basis should the rebate be calculated? Again, that goes back to your pricing procedure. So for example, this is the rebate that I am using, BO03. So like as I told you, will have from and to fields in your pricing procedure. Okay, so using this from and to fields, you can either do you can configure it. You can configure it as the base as your net, or the base as your gross or your list price. Okay, it's just that you enter whatever number, whatever condition type that you want to use as reference. you just need to enter that number here. Okay, so then the system will take that as a base and calculate the rebate. Okay. So I'll just also give you an overview of the configuration. Okay, rebates configuration, you do it from rebate. Okay, so the first thing that you do is you define a agreement type, a rebate type. Okay, you go to define agreement type. Okay, so so this is how, or these are the different controls that you have. So the customer rebate, so the proposed valid from and valid to date. So if you observe, whenever when I created the agreement, automatically the dates defaulted to 1/1/2012 to 12/31/2012. Okay, the reason that they defaulted to those dates are from these default values. Okay, if you want, you can change it. There will be like multiple options here, so you can change it. Okay, first day of the week, first day of the month, first day of the year. Okay, and this is just a proposal. You can always change it. Okay, you're always free to change these dates. Okay, and payment method is, how do you want to pay your customer? Do you want to cut a check, or do you want to pay cash? Okay, this is actually carried over to F5 so that they know what is the preferred payment of method. Okay, I'll come back to this condition type group in the next step. And verification levels is, so whenever you are clicking this, so this is the verification level. It means that it will give you the list of all the invoices that are calculated for this rebate. Okay, so do you want to display all documents? Okay, if you just click here, it will give you multiple options. The reason why you have all these options is because here I just have two, but in a real-time scenario you will have like hundreds and thousands of invoices. Okay, so whenever you try to click this verification level, it will take forever to open. Okay, it will take a lot of time to open the screen. So that's why you can put a different verification level. Say you can say display all the totals by sold to party. Okay, so that it's an aggregate. You don't get at an invoice level, but it will give you an aggregate. Okay, so what is the verification level that you want to use? Okay, and different valuation period is, okay, different validity period. So different validity period is used if you want to maintain different dates between your condition records that you're creating. Okay, the condition records that you are creating and your agreement dates. Okay, the agreement dates, if you want to maintain that, you need to click on it. So here now it's not checked, so it says rebate agreement and condition record have the same validity period. Okay, manual accruals is generally used, like I told about lump sum rebates. Okay, in those lump sum rebates you actually don't accrue it through invoices. Okay, say for example, as I told, a promotional discount where you give a promotion because your customer, they displayed your products at the entrance of the store. Okay, in that case you don't have anything on an invoice to accrue. Okay, in that case you create a manual accrual saying that for this I might owe this customer say $5,000 for this promotion. Okay, you create a manual accrual so that your FI guys know that we might owe 5,000 like end of the quarter or end of the fiscal year. Okay, so similarly, payment procedure is how do you want to do the payment, and partial settlement is you can do either a partial settlement or a final settlement. Partial settlement is, say you have an agreement with your customer for a year. Okay, so your customer might request you to do partial settlements for every quarter. Okay, so that's how you do a partial settlement and final settlement. Okay, and this R3 is it's a credit memo request type. Okay, whenever you do a payment, whenever you do a partial settlement, a sales order of type R3 will be created. Okay, whenever you create a settlement, a credit memo request, which is a sales document of type B1, will be created. Okay, again the same thing, if you want to maintain any text, you can do it. Okay, so and another important configuration is this condition type groups. Okay, if you observed here, you saw condition type group assigned. Okay, in your agreement a condition type group is assigned. So this condition type group has some condition types assigned to it. Okay, so if you go back, okay, first you define a condition type group. So like this doesn't have any control, so you just define a condition type group, and in the next step you assign. Okay, so if you see this 003, you assign the condition type and the sequence number to it. Okay, so that's the reason whenever you are trying to create an agreement, that's how in this screen. Okay, so just click here. So that's how in this screen you are actually getting a VK11 screen to create a rule for a customer. Okay, because you maintained a condition type BO03, and this is your table, condition table. Okay, so this is your condition table. So that's how, so whenever you save a condition record, it is saved into this table. Okay, and eventually in the last step you assign this condition type group 003. Okay, you assign that condition type group to the rebate type. Okay, to your rebate type you assign the condition type group. Okay, if you are interested in learning more about rebates, there's actually a very good document online. So if you just Google for SAP SD rebates, so that will give you a very good overview of rebates. Okay, so that's about rebates and the configuration behind the rebates. Okay, so if you have any questions, I'll take. If not, I'll move on to the next concept. Okay, I unmuted everyone, so if you have any questions, we can discuss. Okay, so we'll go to the next concept, which is I want to show you the bill of materials, how they are used in SD. Okay, now let's try to, instead of just trying to create a bill of material, let's take a real SD scenario in which you use bill of materials, and let's see how you can play around with the bill of materials configuration. Okay, to start with, bill of materials is a group of materials. that are tied together. Okay, take for example a car. Okay, car is a bill of material that has 4 wheels. Okay, wheels might be a different material number. So say the material number is 1001. Okay, it will have one steering. Say this might have a different material number. Okay, so the material number of the car is 10,000. Okay, similarly 4 seats. Like a car will have like maybe thousands or hundred thousands of different minute materials. Okay, so like all these are tied together to a bill of material. Okay, so what the example that I'll take maybe is let me take an example of a laptop. Okay, I'll create a material for or rather a desktop, and then in this bill of material I am taking 3 components. The first is a monitor, I'll take a CPU, and I'll take a keyboard. Okay, then let me what I'll do is first I'll create different materials for each of these components, and then I'll create a bill of material. I'll create a bill of material for desktop and assign these 3 materials to that bill of material, and then let's see how the bill of material explodes in a sales order. Okay, so now let me go to MMO1. Okay, I'll say desktop. Okay, my delivering plant is I want to deliver it from the plant that I'm using. Okay, this is 1513. Okay, now let me create 3 more materials. So now what I'll do is I'll create with reference. Okay, let me create 17-inch. Monitor. Okay, because I am creating with reference, all the values were copied from the first material that I created. Okay, let me create one more. Now this is 15. Okay, this is 1515, and the last material. Okay, now I created a desktop. I'm trying to create a desktop, and these are 3 different components in the desktop. Now let's try to create a BOM, bill of material. Okay, the way how you create a bill of material is okay, you go to production, master data, bill of materials, because bill of materials is mainly used in production planning. Okay, PP module. The transaction directly if you want to go is CSO1. Okay, so the plant is APPL and the BOM usage is, since I am using it for sales and distribution, I want to use it in a sales order, so I'll select SD, sales and distribution. Okay, the transaction code is CS01. Okay, the material for which I want to create a bill of material BOM is 1513. Okay, now I just have to assign all the different components. Okay, the component 1514, another component 1515, another component 1516. What are the quantity? Okay, whenever my customer orders one desktop, he should get one monitor, one keyboard and one CPU. Okay, say if you take an example of car, then if this is wheels, then you will have a different quantity. Okay, you'll have 4 wheels. Okay, let me also change the descriptions for this. So this is how you create a bill of material. Okay, let me go to MMO2 and I'll change the descriptions of 1515 and 1516. Okay, it says CPU and 1516. I'll say keyboard. Okay, so now there are two ways of handling bill of materials in a sales order. Okay, the first, let's assume the price on the desktop is $500. If the customer buys a desktop from us, the price is 500, but we can also sell the components individually. Okay, a monitor on itself costs 300, a CPU costs 200, and a keyboard costs 100. Okay, so you can have, so now I can configure this material in two ways, such that everything happens at a header level. Okay, all the availability check, pricing, everything happens at a header level. Or I can configure it in another way, so that everything happens at a item level, and this is just a text item. This is just used for display in the sales order. Okay, how we do that? Before we do that, let's also maintain these prices. Okay, the way how you maintain the prices is you go to VK11. Okay, PR00 is the condition type for list price, so I'll just maintain directly for the material. Okay, say 1513, 1514, 15 and 1516. Okay, the prices are 500, 300, 200, 100. Okay, we maintain the prices. So now the way how you can control a BOM's behavior in a sales order depends on the item category group. A bill of materials behavior in a sales order can be controlled. Okay, like as always, a behavior in the sales order can be controlled by the item category in the sales order, can be controlled by the item category in the sales order, which in turn is controlled by the item category group. Okay, by the item category group in the material master. Okay, so now let's go to the material master of this guy 1513. Okay, mm02. Okay, you go to sales or 2 tab, and if you open this item category group, okay, so there's a standard SAP delivered item category called ERLA. Okay, what this item category ERLA does is it controls everything at the header level. Okay, so now let me save this. Now let me try to create a sales order. Okay, the material number is 1513. Okay, the quantity I'll enter in quantity. So now if you see, the 1513 will be exploded according to its bill of material. Okay, observe the availability control is done for the material 1513. Okay, I'm not sure if you observed that. Let me again delete it. Okay, now the now the availability check. The system is checking for the availability of the material for material 1513. Okay, remember this. The next example that I show you, it will be different. The system will check for availability for each of its components. Okay, now if you see, the bill of material is exploded. Okay, once I enter 1513, it actually pulled up all the remaining. Okay, now the interesting thing is, let's observe the prices. Okay, if you go to conditions, you see the price of PR00, whatever price that I maintain. Okay, for this desktop, it took that value. Okay, it didn't consider the price of its components. Now let's go to the next one. Okay, if you see, it didn't pick any price for it. Okay, the same thing for the next. Okay, for all the remaining. Okay, so the reason why the system is behaving this way is because of this item category. Okay, this item category is determined because this item category TAQ is determined because of the item category group for this particular material. Okay, now all the remaining three items are called as text materials, which doesn't have any significance. They are just used for they are just kind of a text materials which just show that in this particular order, along the customer is getting a desktop, but he's also getting these components. But these are not used for pricing, for any of the sales order functions. Okay, so now let's do the other way. So now let's try to make this as a text item and all the remaining components as the actual materials. Okay, it's the same thing. The way how you do it is, again you go to material master, And here if you see, the item category group description is material above, so the material above has a significance. Okay, there is another item category, this is structure LUMF. Okay, and remember, you just have to change the item category for the top material. Okay, you don't need to change the item categories for the components. Okay, the item category group that you assign for this material, it controls whether the pricing has to happen at the higher level or at a component level. Okay, now let me create a sales order again. Okay, now observe, the system is doing an availability check for material 1514. Like when I say continue, it's again doing a material check for 1515, and again it's doing availability check for the third material. Okay, now check the price. Okay, so now if I double click on it and go to conditions, now the top material is not relevant for pricing, but now the component price is 300. Okay, which is the price that I maintained in PR00 for this material. The same thing again for the next one, 200. Okay, now your desktop is the sum of its components. The price of your desktop is the sum of its individual components. Okay, so again if you see, the item category here is TAN. Okay, because the item category TAN makes the line item as relevant for pricing. Okay, so that's the reason why these line items are, a price is calculated for this line item. Okay, so that's how a bill of material in SD can be used, and how you can control so the question is, how do we know which item category will do line item for pricing? So you just need to go into the item category configuration. Go to sales and distribution, sales and sales document item. Okay, you go to sales document item and you go to define item categories. Okay, if you see, the item category here is TAP. Now let's go to TAP and see. TAP. Okay, if you see the pricing here, it's blank, means there will not be pricing for this line item. Okay, on the other hand, if you go to the item category TAN, okay, the pricing X is the standard, pricing standard. So it means that pricing will be determined. The same thing, earlier the item category for the components was TAE. Okay, so if you go into TAE, again the pricing for this is blank. So basically it's controlled from your item category. The way how this item category comes is from the item category group of the material master. Okay, so just to refresh your memory, then item category is determined from the item category group and the sales order type. Okay, you go to assign item categories here. Okay, so you see your sales order type and the item category group. Okay, this is also a very important interview question. How is the item category in a sales order determined? An item category in a sales order is determined. Okay, an item category in a sales order is determined based on the sales order type and the item category group from the material master. Okay, so that's how the system finds the item category, and based on the item category it will determine whether it has to do pricing for that particular line item or not. The question is, what is the general practice? Is the price maintained at the top level or at the component level? What are the pros and cons of the two types of pricing? Generally it depends. For example, for desktops, I mean, if you take the business of a laptop, uh, you can, a variant configuration also comes into picture. So in that case, what they'll do is the prices of all, because you'll never have a static value, right? So the prices of all the components, it will add up to the total price of the material. Okay, that's in generally they use these type of combinations in a variant configuration environment. So in those cases, you cannot have I mean, here I just had three variations. Okay, let's take a real, okay, let's take a real configuration of a desktop. Say you might have a processor. Okay, you might have, say, like 5 different types of processors. Okay, 1.5 gigahertz to 1.7 to 2.5. Okay, then you can have different combinations of hard drives. Okay, you can have like 10 or 12 different types of hard drives. Okay, then you can have like keyboards. Okay, then you can have mouse, and you can have like a lot of this stuff. So if you have to maintain the variation, if you have to maintain the prices at a header level, so think about the different combinations for which you have to maintain the price. Okay, it's like 5 into 10 into different types of keyboards that you have. So you have 2 different types of keyboards and 2 different types of mouses. Okay, the final end products that you have are 5 into 10 into 2 into 2. Okay, so you have about 200 of these. So it's practically not possible to maintain the prices at a higher level. Okay, but whereas if you maintain the price for each of these components, so then the system, it will add up and derive a price for the header level. Okay, so generally in all the variant configured environments, prices are maintained for the individual materials, and then all those prices will sum up. Okay, the best example that you can take is like whenever you try to configure a, whenever you're buying a car. Okay, and when you try to build a car on, say, Toyota website or any other website. Okay, so think of the different if someone has to maintain a price at a higher level, at a car level, think of the myriad number of combinations for which they have to maintain a price. Okay, so that's not practically possible. So that's why, eh, like whenever you try to configure a car, you'll see that if you take this add-on, okay, if you have leather seats, this is your price increase. So the price will always be generally at the material levels. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, so let's take a break, and think there are only two topics that are left. So I'll give you an overview of variant configuration, and I'll complete availability check. Okay, so we'll discuss these two concepts after the break. Okay, let's get back at 12, and we'll discuss this. It's online. Okay, or when you try to configure a car online. Okay, so it's generally used in scenarios where there are multiple options. Okay, to come up with a price. And actually, if you are interested in like supply chain a lot, like Dell is the one. It actually pioneered this model, and like the complete business of doing variants online and selling it online. So if for example, earlier the market used to be, okay, earlier HP and like all the other companies, they used to just sell some pre-configured laptops, and they used to sell it in the stores like Best Buy, Circuit City at the time. Okay, the problem with that is the customer will not get what they want, and the inventory cost, and not just in this laptop business but any business, you should basically have very fast moving goods. Okay, that's the advantage with a company like Walmart. Okay, but with other earlier companies like with HP and others, they used to have very slow moving business. Okay, they used to send the pre-configured laptops to stores, and then the customers, even though they are not really happy with the product that they want, they'll eventually buy it. But if you take the amount of cash flow, it's like after HP actually manufactures it takes at least like 2 to 3 months to for the product to reach the customer. Okay, but Dell came and changed all that. Okay, one of the main advantages for Dell is the amount of it's called as assemble to order scenario. So unless they get an order from the customer, okay, they will not start manufacturing that. Okay, so compare that to the model that was prevalent before that, wherein they just used to keep on manufacturing without really knowing if the customer is going to buy it or not. Okay, but compared with Dell, once they get your order, they know what is the order that they have to make, and they also get your money right away. Okay, it means that Dell started basically doing business with your own money. Okay, so compare again that with to the process earlier, wherein HP, they used to make all the stuff, and they used to sell it to Best Buy, and after like 2 to 3 months they used to get the payments back. Okay, so if you are interested, so you can look up online, or I think there are even some books on how Dell pioneered this model. So this is now called as make to order process. Okay, so the other component is make to stock. Make to stock is you don't look, okay, you don't know what your customer wants, but you do a best guess, and I mean, you not just a best guess, but you use some forecasting models. Okay, in PP you can do forecasting, and again in SAP supply chain management SCM module, there is a module called APO, advanced planning optimizer. So using that tools, the company will do a forecasting, and based on that forecasting they'll make the stock. Okay, but the other model which companies are leaning towards now is make to order. Okay, unless you get an order from your customer, the company will not start manufacturing the stuff. Okay, the very big advantage with this is you know what your customer wants, you know your customer's preferences, and the amount of inventory that sits with you is very less, almost minimal in this case. Okay, but with this you really don't know what your customer wants, and you're going to do a fair guess or a fair assessment or a forecasting of what your customer wants, and you go on making that stock. So you really don't know whether the customer is going to consume all that. So you might have a scenario where the stock will sit in your warehouses for a long time, increasing the amount of inventory holding costs. Okay, the more stock you hold up, there are multiple disadvantages. The first thing is it will occupy more warehouse space for you. Okay, and again, if it's a perishable or something, you have to maintain, like say temperatures. Okay, you'll have all the warehouse costs associated with it, and then your cash flow is struck because you are not able to sell it to your customer. Your cash flow is interrupted. Okay, so that's why companies are moving towards make to order. But one of the issues or negatives of make to order scenario is the customer will not the customer will have to wait. He will not immediately get his delivery as soon as he orders it. Okay, that's the issue with the make to order. Okay, so what some companies do is what they're doing now is, depending on the material, some materials they'll do make to stock and some materials they'll do make to order. Okay, and all these mainly come under production planning, and companies are also these days now using a hybrid of make to stock and make to order called as assemble to order. Okay, assemble to order is nothing but, say since we are on this laptop example, what the company will do is they'll get all the components ready. So they'll get a monitor ready. Okay, they'll have all the discrete pieces ready. They'll have the hard drives ready. Okay, similarly they'll have the keyboard panels ready. Okay, they'll have all the discrete components in place, and once they get an order from the customer, that's when they actually assemble this. Okay, so this is the process now, like all these laptop manufacturers are using. So they get all these different components from because generally now all the laptop manufacturers, they don't really manufacture all this. Okay, hard drives they buy from Seagate, keyboards they buy from some Chinese company, similarly monitors they buy from some other company. So they get all the different components that are needed, and once when you place an order online, that's when the company will start assembling it. Okay, so that's the reason why from the date suppose you put a order on the Dell website, it will take like at least 2 days or 3 days to a week time for the company to ship it. Okay, so during that period they actually assemble your laptop. Okay, that's an assemble to order scenario, and companies are leaning towards this process mostly these days. Okay, so coming back to the variant configuration, so okay, so for variant configuration, you first have to define a configurable material. So say for example, let me take an example of car. Okay, the example that I want to do is I want to maintain 3 different variations of cars. Okay, cars of 3 different colors. Okay, I'll say a silver car, I'll say a red car, and I'll say a black car. And whenever the customer orders the car from me, okay, whenever I try to key in a sales order for this car, a pop-up should come and ask what is the type of color that the customer wants. Okay, so then based on the color, I want to price the car. Okay, if it's a silver car, it's a different price. If it's a red car, it's a different price. If it's a black one, it's a different price. Okay, so that's the scenario that I want to do. Okay, so the first thing that I have to do is, first I have to create a material for the car. Okay, so now let me go to MMO1. Okay, let's say a car. Okay, so whenever you do variant configuration, you have to select, because you want to configure the material in the sales order. It's not a direct finished product. Okay, you have to configure this car according to your options. The system should be able to give you a pop-up to configure the car. Okay, so that's why the material type that you have to select here, it should be a configurable material. Okay, the material type that you select should be a configurable material. Okay, let's say a car. Amount of measure, you can enter anything. Okay, I'm using the same sales org, so hopefully Apple also will sell cars one day. So okay, now I created a configurable material called a car. Okay, now okay, the number is 1518. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to maintain different characteristics for this car. Okay, in SAP there is another kind of a submodule called as classifications. Okay, so there for each material you can actually classify it, or you can add different characteristics to it. Okay, so for this material 1518, I'll maintain a characteristic called as color. Okay, and I'll maintain three different values for that characteristic. Okay, so it should be somewhere. Okay, the transaction code is CT02 or CT04. CT04 is for characteristic. Let me find that in the menu here. Okay, the other option is I can directly go and I can search here. Okay, there should be a tab somewhere called as central functions, so it should be somewhere there. Okay, so here it is, variant configuration. Okay, so this is the path. Okay, I'm creating a characteristic for the car. So ZA color. Okay, I want to create this characteristic. So I'll say color of the car, and what is the data type? Okay, it's a character, so I'll say a maximum of 10 characters, and here I need to enter the what are the values. Okay, the different colors that I want to maintain is silver, red, and black. Okay, these are the different types of color characteristics I want that I want to maintain for my car. Okay, again similarly, let's again relate an example of a laptop. Okay, for a laptop, for your hard drive, okay, your hard drive might have a characteristic called as storage space. Then the values that it will have there are like whatever values that you want, 60, 100, 120, 140. Okay, those are different values of that characteristic. So similarly, I want to maintain another characteristic called as price. Car price. Okay, for this price, because price I want to maintain in SAP SD. Okay, variant configuration, it's a different module, so you need to link it to SAP SD. The way how you link it is, here you have to maintain a reference to a SD com, which is a SD pricing structure, so that you can maintain prices in SD. Okay, so this SD com is a structure that links SAP SD and variant configuration. Okay, so now I maintain two characteristics for my car, and you have to group these characteristics into a class. Okay, your steps here. First you create a characteristic for color. Okay, then you create another characteristic for price. Then you group these characteristics into a class. Okay, so now the next step is you have to group the characteristic into a class. So let's go and create a class. Okay, I'll say ZA car, and for variant configuration the class type that you have to use is 300. Okay, now class configurable car. So now I'll enter the characteristics that I created earlier. So ZA color. Okay, so if I don't remember, I can search. Okay, ZA car and ZA price. Okay, now I created a class. Now the next thing that I have to do is I have to assign the class that I created to my material. Okay, to this material 15 18. Now I have to assign the material 15 18 to the class by creating a configuration profile. Now I know I'm introducing a lot of terms without much explanation, but these are some of the series of steps that you have to do when you want to do variant configuration. So I'll show you, like, all of this is generally done by, there will be a special consultant for variant configuration generally in your projects. Okay, so that's a different expertise. So from SD you will have to know how pricing is done in variant configuration. So I'll show that to you as an SD consultant. What are a couple of things that you really need to know in a variant configuration environment. Okay, but all these is generally done by a PP guy, a production planning guy, or by exclusively a VC consultant. Okay, I want to create a configuration profile for a material. Okay, the material is 1518. Okay, you can enter any number and I will say fit profile for car. Okay, so here you need to assign the class that you created. Okay, the class that we created is okay, this is the class that I created. Okay, now let's there is still some more work that I have to do, but before that let me once go to the sales order and see. Okay, let me enter the material number 1518. Okay, see now if you see, as soon as I enter the material number 1518, it's asking you to configure this material. Okay, the reason why it's asking you to configure this material is, for this material I assigned a configuration profile. Okay, the configuration that I just did from for this material, I assigned a configuration profile. Okay, if you just click and go to the class assignments, and here I assigned this class. Okay, I assigned the class that I created, and that class had characteristics called as color. Okay, that's the reason why. Okay, that's the reason why as soon as you enter this material, now it's asking you to enter a color. Okay, so now let me complete the remaining stuff. So let me go to the characteristics again. Okay, now to link to the pricing, I have to write, actually in variant configuration, like you will have to write a lot of logic also. Okay, so there's a special syntax for writing the logic. It's even not complete programming language, but it has some special syntax to write specific conditions. Okay, so all that part a variant configuration consultant will be doing. Okay, so this I want to link with the pricing. Okay, I'll explain you why I am writing this. Okay, no. So what I basically did is, for all the characteristics that I created, I assigned some pricing variables, so that now when I go to VK11, okay, now basically my end result that I want to do is, I want to maintain different price for each color of the car. Okay, so the like how PR00 is a list price, SAP gives you a condition called VA00 for variant pricing. Okay, so for the VA, you need to know the condition type for variant pricing. So VA00, okay, VA00 is the condition type for variant pricing. Okay, now for my different variants, now I will maintain different prices. Okay, for silver, for for red and for black. Okay, so basically when I wrote that dependency in the previous CT04, what I did is I named these variants as black, red and silver so that I can use them in the pricing. Okay, now I maintain different prices for this. Now let me again go back to a sales order and try to create a sales order. Okay, the material is 1518. Okay, now so if I just click on this option, so it's giving me the options that I have. Okay, now I just had one characteristic. You can have any number of characteristics. Say for example, you can have wheels. Okay, you can have different types of characteristics. Okay, so now I select red, and once I select it, I go to the next screen here. Okay, it's not coming up with the price. Let me see. Okay, I'm seeing if the case in which I did matters. So let me again save it and let me create conditions again. Okay, VK11 and you do it from VA00. Okay, I maintain different prices. Now let me come back and try to create a sales order again. Okay, as soon as you enter a configurable material, it will automatically pop up with the options. Okay, so now if you see, based on the car type that you selected, the system, it will automatically come up with the price. Okay, because I selected a car of type I think red. So if you go into the conditions, okay, pricing conditions, you see I selected a silver car, so it's actually pulling up the price accordingly. Okay, similarly if you select a red car, okay, so if you see I selected a red car and it's bringing that price automatically. Okay, so as a SD consultant, you should know that the prices for variants are maintained in a condition type called VA00. Okay, so whenever you are using variant configuration, or if you are working in a variant configured environment, you have to maintain this condition type VA00, or a condition type that is copied from VA00 in your pricing procedure. Okay, without that you will not be able to work with variants. Okay, and for this VA00, so you can ask the assistance of your VC consultant, or from uh, the PP guy. So they will help you out with what are all the different combinations for which you will have to maintain the prices. Okay, so that is how you do variant configuration, and I just took one characteristic, so you can have n number of characteristics. Okay, so for again, if you take the example of laptop, so you can have different types of combinations. Okay, so you can configure all those, like whenever you enter a sales order, so depending on all the characteristics that you have for that material, the system, it will ask you to select the characteristics, and depending on the characteristics that you select, the system, it will select the appropriate price. Okay, again, the prices, they have to be maintained in the condition records. Okay, you should maintain condition records for all those components. Okay, then the sum of all those components will be the net value. Okay, so that is how you do variant configuration. In case if you are interested in learning more, let me know. I'll give you documents related to variant configuration. So at least in your first project, I won't recommend, at least initially now, I don't recommend spending more time on variant configuration. So once you did like one or two projects in SD, so that's when you can determine if you are interested in variant configuration, or if you want to learn more about EDI, or if you want more to learn more about, say, rebates. Okay, so those are all kind of specializations. So once you have the base, and once you get the basic knowledge by working in like at least one or two projects, so once you get that basic knowledge, then there are a lot of sub modules in SD. Okay, for example, there is a sub module called revenue recognition, SD revenue recognition. There is another module called like SD transportation is a completely different module. So similarly, there is another module called resource related billing. So there are like lot of relevant components to SD. Okay, but for all that, SD is the base, and so you need to have some working experience to understand. Even in variant configuration also, I try to just scratch the surface. Okay, if you really want to go into the depth, you should have some basic working knowledge in SD. Okay, without that, it's difficult to understand the scenarios, and it's kind of difficult to understand the configuration behind those. Yeah, initially my recommendation would be to focus on basic core SD. Okay, like whatever concepts that we have discussed, the basic functions, like till from sales orders to invoicing. I recommend a book, Glenn C. Williams, SAP SD by Glenn C. Williams. Okay, I used that book to initially learn and still that is the best book in the market. Okay, so uh, I covered, I think I should have covered all the topics in that book. So that book will be a very good reference. Okay, okay, if you are done with that book, I think you will be good for your first project. Okay, again, that book has only the core SD part, like it doesn't have like this EDI, it doesn't have this variant configuration, it only concentrates on SD. So I really recommend you to go through that book completely from the beginning to the end, and that should be good for your first project. Okay, after that, depending on your interest, then you can pick like an area or two of your preference, and you can start working on those. Okay, so one other concept that I didn't cover is the availability check. Okay, for coming to the availability check, this doesn't have much configuration, but you as a consultant, you should know how the availability check is happening. Okay, so availability check is nothing but whenever the customer is ordering a material from you, the system SAP should determine. Okay, let me try to create a sales order. Okay, so this is the customer's requested delivery date. The customer is requesting the goods to be delivered on 18th. Okay, so whenever you enter a sales order, the system should make sure that the particular sales order can be delivered by 18th, by the requested delivery date. Okay, if not, say you don't have enough stock of a material, so if not, the system should be able to propose an alternate delivery date. Okay, the way how that happens is using this availability check. Okay, let's see through an example. So let me take this material 1421. Okay, material 1421. So I have a current stock of, okay, I have a current stock of 50 eaches. Okay, so my customer is ordering, customer orders 100 eaches of material 1421 with an expected delivery date of say 4/20/2004. Okay, so now how does so whenever you enter a sales order, okay, I'm entering the sales order today and my current stock is only 50 eaches. Okay, so whenever I enter the sales order, so how is the system going to determine if enough stock is going to be available to be delivered on 4/20 or not? Okay, that is the concept of availability check. Okay, so the process that SAP uses for doing the availability check is using ATP. Okay, SAP uses ATP for availability check. ATP is nothing but available to promise. Available to promise. So the ATP check is nothing but it's your current stock plus future receipts plus future deliveries. Okay, so the way how the system does an ATP check is it takes the current stock into account. So even though I'm entering a sales order today, the system is going to take into account future receipts. Okay, even though I have a stock of 50 eaches today, the customer is ordering 100 eaches. So if I have a delivery of 50 more eaches tomorrow, the system is going to take that also into account. It doesn't just go by the current stock. It goes by the future receipts, and it also goes by the future outward movement, by meaning any future deliveries also. Okay, so I'll explain in detail what I mean here. So say the current stock is 50 eaches, and we are expecting a delivery of we are expecting a delivery from our vendor, expecting a delivery, or we are expecting a production. Okay, the production is almost to be done, and we are expecting an inward movement into a company of 50 more eaches on 04/10/2012. Okay, by day after tomorrow I am expecting 50 more eaches to be delivered. Okay, so when I enter a sales order today, to be delivered on 4/20, how does the system calculate if this delivery date is going to be met or not? Okay, so the way how the system checks if we can meet the expected delivery date, or if it has to propose a new delivery date, is based on a concept called as material availability date. Material availability date, called as MAD, people called MAD. So this material availability date is nothing but it takes the expected delivery date as reference. Okay, it takes the expected delivery date as reference, and it will subtract the pick and pack time. Okay, what is the pick and pack time that it will take in the warehouse? Okay, how much time does it take for the company to do picking and packing? How much time does it take to load the goods into the warehouse? Okay, and how much time does it take to plan for the transportation planning? Okay, so these are different times, these are the different time that a company or your delivery team might take for each of the processes. Okay, pick and pack time is nothing but the amount of time it will take to actually pick the goods from the warehouse aisles and pack them according to the customer requirement. Okay, say that is 2 days. Pick and pack time is 2 days. Loading time, what is the time that will take to load all the packed items into the truck? Say that is 1 day. Okay, and transportation planning time is nothing but the time it will take for your company to arrange the transportation, to talk to the third-party logistic companies and do all the transportation planning. Say that is 1 day. Okay, and you might also have the actual delivery time. Okay, how much time does it take for you to deliver? Okay, say the delivery time is 1 day. Okay, so for us to deliver this shipment on 4/20, we should be able to get the materials ready on how many days does it take for us to for all these activities? Is 5 days. Okay, so we should have enough stock on 04/15/2012. So this is your material availability date. This is the material availability date. Okay, so the system checks. So even though I'm putting in an order today, the system calculates this material availability date, and it will check for the stock on 4/15. It won't check for the stock on it won't check for the stock today. Okay, the stock today doesn't matter, but it will check for the stock on 4/15. Okay, because I am expecting a delivery of 50 eaches on 4/10, and I already have a stock of 50 eaches, So then the system is going to confirm the delivery date of 420. Okay, because on 415 we are going to have enough stock. Okay, and again all this is it happens out of the box. You don't have to do, or you don't need to do any configuration, but you need to know how the system is actually proposing the delivery dates. Okay, so just another variation to this. So treat this as scenario 1. Okay, and another variation of this is, let's say we have a current stock of 50 eaches and I am expecting a delivery of 50 eaches on 417. Okay, and by the way, this is called as backward scheduling. This is called as backward scheduling. So backward scheduling is nothing but it will take the customer's expected delivery date as reference, and it will calculate backwards. It will reduce the delivery time, it will then reduce transportation planning, it will reduce loading time, it will reduce the pick pack time, and then it will come up with a material availability date. So that is the date on which you should have enough stock. So similarly again, let's take a different variation of this same current stock is 50 eaches and I am expecting an inbound delivery of 50 eaches on 417. Okay, and here also the customer orders, okay, the customer orders 100 eaches of this material with an expected date of 420. So again I have the same timings. Okay, I have the same timings. I need 1 day for delivery, 1 day for transportation planning, 1 day for loading, and 2 days for pick pack. Now the material availability date in this case is also, the material availability date is 04/15/2012. Okay, but on this material availability date in this scenario, I don't have enough stock. Okay, I only have 50 eaches, but the customer is ordering 100 eaches. So now in this case my backward scheduling doesn't work, because based on the backward scheduling I don't have enough stock to meet the customer requirement. Okay, then what the system does is it will do a forward scheduling. Okay, first it will do a backward scheduling to come up with a material availability date and checks for the stock on MAD. If not, then the system does a forward scheduling. Okay, forward scheduling is nothing but now it will look into the future. Okay, on 415 you don't have enough stock, then it will look for 415 or 416, you don't have enough stock, you don't have any inbound coming in, then you have 417. Okay, on 417 now the system has enough stock to fulfill the customer order. Okay, so now your material availability date now is 04/17/2012 is your material availability date. So based on, now the system will take this as a reference and it will do a forward scheduling. Okay, because these times doesn't vary, right? So you still need 2 days for pick pack, you need 1 day for loading, and you need all this. So now what the system does is, now it will do a forward scheduling, and the system, it will propose a new date based on 5 days. So, okay, 14 plus 7 is, now the new customer expected delivery date is 04/22/2012. Okay, so that is how the system, it will come up with the dates. First it will do a backward scheduling, and then it will come up with a material availability date. If stock is available on that date, well and good, it will confirm on that day. If not, then it will do a forward scheduling to look in the future on what date the stock will be available. Okay, the date on which the stock is available is your material availability date, and taking that as a reference, the system will do a forward scheduling. Okay, so from that new material availability date, the system will add up all the processing times and it will come up with a new customer expected delivery date. Okay, so that is how availability check with ATP happens. Okay, so if you want to look up in the sales order, okay, you go to schedule lines tab. Okay, you go to the schedule. So for example, the delivery date is 18/4. For this material, okay, if you go to MMBE, okay, MMBE again is to check your stock view. Okay, 1421 is the name. Okay, now if you see, there is stock of 7991. Okay, so that's the reason when I enter a quantity of 1, the system it confirmed immediately because you have a stock sitting in your warehouse. Okay, so if you want to, so if you just select this and go to the shipping tab, so here you will see all these dates. So this is the customer expected delivery date. Okay, the goods issue should be done by this date. Okay, the loading time is 2 days, so it's 16/4/2012. Okay, then you have your goods processing times. So then based on it, the material availability date is 12/4/2012. So for this date, the system will check if enough stock is available or not. Okay, so now instead of quantity of 1, let's enter a quantity of 10,000. 10,000. Okay, see, now if you see, the confirmed quantity is only 7,773. Okay, so now if you go into the schedule lines tab again, so if you see, only a quantity of 7773 has been confirmed. Okay, because on this material availability date only that stock is available. Okay, so if you just select this and okay, this shows the display. Okay, this icon, it shows the availability overview. So if you check the display availability, okay, so this is the stock that you have currently, and if you open it, so you can click on one of these. So now this shows you all the different types of orders that were placed on this material. Okay, what are all the total? So like if you see, all these are orders that I created. Okay, 12,065, 67, 68. Okay, so this is the availability overview. This shows all the different types of sales, or not different types, but all the sales orders that were placed. Okay, so what happens is, when I create when I keep on creating sales orders, so they will be captured in the availability overview, and say you don't have enough stock now. Okay, now this 3000, like whatever 2000 odd, they will be transferred to Okay, so if I keep on entering more sales orders, okay, so I entered total sales orders of quantity more 5000. Okay, so that whole requirement, because you don't have enough stock, all those will be transferred to Okay, what guys do is, like every day or every week or every month, depending on the company, okay, they will do an MRP run, a material requirement planning run. Okay, so then they will know what are all the back ordered materials that they have to either procure, if it's a externally procured material, or if it's a material that is produced in house. So basically they will get a requirement overview. That's what is called an MRP run. So that's done in material management. Okay, so they do that MRP run to get a requirement overview, and then they'll create purchase requisitions and purchase orders, and they'll send it to the company's vendors. Okay, then the vendors will send it, and so in goods receipt happens. How goods issue happens for us: once you get the stock back from once you get the materials from the vendors, we'll get a goods receipt. Okay, that goods receipt again increases the quantity. Okay, again then that's when you can actually satisfy all the customer requirements. Okay, so that's the point of integration with and all the customer requirements in SD, they will be posted to Okay, so that's how this availability check happens. Okay, and one other thing in availability check is if you go to this availability again, the way how you go to availability overview is you select the material and you just click here. Okay, if you click on the scope of the check, so what are all the different stocks that you want to include? Okay, like for example, every company will have some safety stock. Okay, like safety stock of 2000 or 4000. That's the minimum level that they want to keep. Okay, that's kind of a safety. So do you want to include that? Okay, do you want for example, all the returns, they will directly go into quality inspection. Okay, if you get a return from your customer for 100 eaches, that will not be directly added into the stock. I mean, it can be added, but generally the process is it will first go into a quality inspection, and once the quality guys they do a quality inspection, that's when they add it back to your regular stock. Okay, do you want to include your quality inspection stock? Okay, if any of your stock is blocked, do you want to include that? Okay, similarly you can control the scope of availability check. Okay, so that is how you do this availability check. So if I have any questions, I'll take, and I think I completed all the concepts in SD. And actually this I think I also have some candidates from previous batch also sitting. So earlier in the last couple of batches I didn't cover rebates and consignments because you guys were like doing some practice and you are working, so that's why this time I was able to complete little faster, so I had enough time to complete consignments, rebates, EDI, variant configuration. Okay, so now the remaining thing is you have to practice. So what I'll do is generally a week or two after, you keep on sending me emails if you have any questions. So if that is something that I see specifically for you, then I'll send it through email. But if I get a good number of questions which I think will help all of us, so then I'll schedule a class about maybe a week or two after. Say this is 8th, right? So maybe like 22nd, week of 21st, 22nd, we can have an hour or two of class, and I'll take up all the common questions that you guys have, and I'll answer those. But otherwise, if you have any questions, I'll keep on adding to the common in the class folder. I'll keep on adding more documents to this common errors, and if there is an issue that you saw and you were able to solve for yourself, if you can add it to this folder, it will help everyone. Okay, I know everyone will be getting, whenever you try to create a stock, you will definitely get an error because there will be a lot of reasons, because the accounting period will not be open. Okay, so you'll get a good number of issues in that. So I try to document all the issues that you generally get. Okay, so I got like a lot of emails about creating the stock, so that's why you can look up all the general issues here. If you are not able to figure out, then you can send me an email. And similarly, I also got a couple of emails saying that you are getting an error saying that an order type has not been defined for your sales area. Okay, so for that you have to go into sales document header and you have to go to assign sales area to sales document types. Okay, and you have to do this configuration. Okay, so similarly, if you get an error and if you are able to solve it for yourself, please add it to this folder. Just give a description, and if you want you can write your name also, and you can add it so that everyone will be able to access it. Okay, so if you need any materials or if you need more materials, let me know. And I recommend, yeah, for the book I recommend just that Glenn C. Williams one book is fine. And if you want to even learn more, you can go to help.sap.com. Yeah, so yeah, you can go to help.sap.com, but I really don't recommend help.sap.com at this stage because that's overwhelming. Okay, you have a lot of information in that which might overwhelm us. So that's why you can, for now you can stick to this book, which is very crisp and concise, and it really gives you what you need at this point. Okay, and yeah, whenever I create the question is, I have noticed that you're only selecting basic and sales view when creating a material. Is the data sufficient to complete all the SD related activities exercises that we have been doing? Yeah, yes, yeah, generally yes, but only when you try to. I recommend at least for one or two materials that you're using, try to create all the views. Okay, because I think you will get an error when you try to invoice it if accounting tab is missing. Okay, so at least for one or two materials, just create all the views. If you want, I'll once show again how to create a material with all the views. Okay, and for all the remaining materials that you use, you can just do even basic data 2 also, you don't need it. Okay, you just do basic data 1, and these 3 tabs are fine for all the SD related stuff. Okay, and if you want to use, you can use the material that I created. You can copy it from the material that I created, 1421. Okay, you try to create a material and you can select all the views. I think that 1421 I created with all the views. Okay, the material number, okay, the material number that you can use is 1421. Okay, so you can just copy it from it. You enter your sales, your plant, your sales are, and you can leave, you need to leave this as it is, but here you enter your organizational details that you are using. Okay, and just select enter, and it should pop, except for description and for some fields, all the remaining fields will be automatically copied over. Yeah, the question is, can you please explain what are the responsibilities of SD consultant in a real project with example of work request? Yeah, so it depends. Again, the responsibilities might vary from project to project. Say you are in a support project. Okay, you might get a support issue from a user saying that he is not able to save a sales order. Okay, for example, whenever you do that incompletion log, there might be some mandatory value missing. Okay, or for example, a shipping point is not assigned. If a shipping point is not assigned, then the user will not be able to save a sales order. Okay, so generally in support projects you will get that kind of requirement, that kind of request from the users where some configuration is missing, or the user most of the time, like at least 60 to 70% in support projects, the users, they'll do some basic mistakes. Okay, and they will not be, and they'll keep on raising tickets. Okay, and if a system is already stable, you will not get any critical requirement where you have to change the configuration end to end. Okay, most of them will be cosmetic work. Okay, and and for example, you also might go into an enhancement project where say that a company acquired a new company, or a company is bringing in more divisions into their SAP landscape. Okay, so in that case, the requirement will be you will be doing kind of an end to end, right from you will be involved in extending the sales areas, like as I told, the FI guys will be doing it, but you will be completely involved. Okay, doing doing the sales areas, sales offices, sales groups, and then creating new order types. Okay, and then the corresponding pricing procedures for it. Okay, and then all the delivery, credit management, all that configuration. Okay, and if it's an implementation project, like obviously, like as I told, you have to do a gap analysis, what is the as is and what is to be, and you really have to come up with the gaps. Okay, you don't have any base to work on. Okay, you have to say that this functionality, it will work without any development, it will work out of the box. Okay, this functionality we might need to do minor enhancements, or we might be able to do it through configuration. Okay, this particular business process, it's not supported by SD, we have to do like a lot of custom work to get this onto SAP. So that is expected of you whenever you're doing an implementation project. Okay, so there is no straight answer, but it depends on the project and the client that you're working in. Okay, so yeah, if you have any questions, meanwhile also I think all of you have my number, so you can give me a call or send me an email, and then we can have a one-on-one conversation if necessary. Okay, but again, I recommend you to practice immediately, because every batch I have like good number of people, I mean, due to their commitments with the work and due to the family, they postpone things for like a month or two, and after that it will be difficult for you to again come back and practice. Okay, so I really recommend practicing all the stuff in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, so that you have all the concepts fresh in your mind, and you can practice those now itself. Okay, so I'll hang on in the chat for some time. Okay, I'll hang on in the chat for some time, so if you have any questions, let me know. If not, please send me your questions, and if needed, I'll schedule the session 2 weeks out. Okay, thanks everyone. It has been great working with all of you. So all the best.
Those things are very confusing. You're the I failed. I failed.
దేనికి
I
ఏమయ్యి
couldn't figure it
చూపిస్తానా
నాకు అర్థం కావట్లేదు.
ఏమైంది శర్మా ఏం ఫీల్ ఏం ఫెయిల్ నానా ఏం ఫెయిల్ అయ్యో ఓ పిచ్చమ్మోయ్
I failed.
ఇప్పుడు ఇద్దరం కలిసి చేద్దాంగా
Nana, I'm watching the movie. I'm watching the movie.
వాచ్ చేస్తే అయిపోతుంది అది పోగంట్లో ఏం మూవీ చెప్పమ్మా
Oh no.
నిన్నే చూసినట్టున్నావుగా
నేను ఎప్పుడు చూసాను?
మరి నిన్నేదో తమిళ మూవీ
నేను
చూసావు
అసలు ఈ మధ్య సినిమాలు విన్నాను. ఆలోచించాను.
అమ్మాయ క్లాస్ అయిపోయింది చేయడము
అది చెప్తావా? నేను షాక్ తిన్నాను.
షాక్ ఏమని తెలుసు వాళ్ళకి 5 వీక్ 10 క్లాసెస్ అయిపోయినాయి ఏమంటారు ఈమెయిల్ చేయండి ఒక 2 వీక్స్ తర్వాత ఇంకో క్లాస్ పెడితే పెడదాం ఏమన్నా క్వశ్చన్స్ అయి ఉంటే
అప్పుడే వచ్చినప్పుడు పెడతావా?
అప్పుడు పెట్టను ఊరికే చెప్తాది అంతే